Give me about 15 seconds, Susan.
Okay, just let me know when.
You're good to go.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the February 26th meeting of Buncombe County's Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee. I think we have pretty much everyone here except for Dan. And I guess we can start with our housekeeping. Anybody has any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. And on to agenda is approved, and moving on to the meeting minutes. Are there any updates, corrections, additions, or edits? Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Motion to approve. Second.
Excellent. So, this is going to be a difficult meeting because I just feel so concerned about the funding sources for the Buncombe County supplemental aging funds. So I would like, before we get into a big discussion, I would like to look at the units of service and get any feedback from Zach or Billy in terms of, do you feel that the providers are going to be able to use the grant money? Is there, and I know it's early in the year, but Zach, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, of course. Let me see here. See if I can share that. So technically at this point in time, individuals should be at 58% spent in their funding. It looks like a lot of our providers are on track with that, except for Council on Aging and United Community Development. Council on Aging was due to the storm. They had to shut down their sites. One of their sites was damaged, and they had to kind of get things back up and running again. And on top of that, they had lead in their pipes that they had to get tested to make sure that they were safe for individuals to return to the meal sites. So that's why they're so behind. Billy and I met with Dee with United Community Development and Susan as well, and we talked about match for them. There's not been any movement since we've had that conversation that I can see. I actually am supposed to monitor them within the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to have to reschedule that because I have nothing to monitor since they're at 0%. But other than that, I feel that we are kind of on course as we would be for a normal year, with the understanding that at the end there is going to be some shifting of funding. But I have a feeling that there'll be nothing left on the table because we always have those true or those providers that are always able to use some of the HCCBG funding, and that is Mountain Mobility and Pisgah Legal Services. So yeah, I don't have any fear of any HCCBG money being left on the table for Buncombe County.
Mhm. Yeah, if I remember our conversation with Dee, she had a bit of I hate to use the word struggle, but as a new provider, just getting over some of the requirements to be once they are a funded provider. And I'm wondering if when you reach out to reschedule with her, if you can ask how things are going, because I would think home repair at this point would be, very busy.
Agreed. I think that after the storm, home repair has been kind of overtaxed at this point. Like there's so many requests and not enough staff to be able to do those requests. So yeah, I will check to see how things are going, if match has been put in place and if projects have started, or if we are still kind of hung up on the match portion or the requirement portion or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I recall she said she had gotten donations for the cash match. But I might be wrong. But yeah, I mean, I know she's very enthusiastic, so I really really hope she's successful this year. Okay, on to the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging Funds. Just to remind everybody, there was a reduction of 25%, and you would see that in the columns for in-home aid and for day stay. And Billy, do you have, I mean, I'm a little nervous about Unite. So I don't know, I guess at this point, can you remind me how difficult it is to move funds around with the county? Because I know it's a very different process with the block grant money.
Last year when we moved funds around with the county at the end, then the committee voted on the money that was left over at the end, and we gave it to 4 providers.
Mhm.
And we had to do that quickly because we had to work with Buncombe County HHS Finance to draw up new contracts, and the fiscal year was ending. So it was a rushed process last year. Unite, as you can see, they've had 3 meetings at their senior center, and they're so you can see they spent like 10,020.48. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to spend all that funding, but they are on track to start having the meetings. Like they said they would start in mid-January. And I'll reach out to them and ask them like what they think about if they're going to spend all their funding. I know Evelyn Charities has spent most of their funding, and they spent 85%, so they'll probably spend everything in February.
Mhm.
And then Working Wheels they had 4 active vehicle repair cases, but weren't able to close them. They're going to be closing those in February, and they also had meetings with some of their referral partners talking about the vehicle repair program for people age 60 plus. So there's going to be movement there.
Mhm. And what about the in-home aid? How is that kind of picking back up again after the storm?
It is, and because of the reductions and different things, we're like having to move people all over the place and switch things around. So I do think you'll see some differences. People, the contracts being different and like just moving clients. So
Mhm.
Ryan and I are meeting about in homemade stuff tomorrow as well. So, but yeah. Yep.
Okie dokie. So I guess Allison and Billy, if we, I don't want to have a year-end rush to move money around. So can you give us guidance on when we should, it's kind of our deadline, like April or May, or I just want to be able to put it on our calendar on when we need to make a decision so that it's not a rush job like it was last year.
When
Yeah,
did we make
but-
the decisions last year? It was like the end of May, wasn't it?
Yes.
Which was too late. Like that was really late. I mean, I'd say by end of April if we know where people, and because we should be able to project out for the next 2 months by then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thought. But what do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I think at the end of April, and Zach does a good job when he sends out the units of service reports. He keeps telling people if they're not going to be able to use their allocation, then to contact county staff. And I say that as well. So Zach starts mentioning that in January of each year, and I follow suit, and people don't always tell us until the very end. I think that's what was the shuffle last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe the committee needs to take a more proactive approach. We can add that to our discussion come next month, but I just don't want to be making you guys rush around to get those contracts done.
And the problem with the last minute shuffle last year was that Working Wheels was not able to spend all of the money that we gave them, so they weren't able to spend 11,000 by June 30th. And so in our so that money went back to the county. So we actually might not have 500,000. We have 489,000 if we get the Buncombe County Supplemental Aging funding this year. And that's why we don't want to have that last minute shuffle.
Mm-hmm. So if I think I hear what you're saying is because prior year did not spend the full 500, the county would the Department of Social Service would consider the budget to be the funding level of last year.
For
Yeah.
next year. That's what they're projecting, right?
That's what they're projecting.
Right. That's what they're projecting. They had to go off those actuals.
Okay.
And because the actuals weren't 500, they were 489. And we can't ask for the 11,000 because it's an increase. So, yeah.
Well, you can't ask for it, but can the committee,
489.
yeah, can the committee ask for it?
I mean, you can do it.
Do what I
think
want.
you're allowed to speak and say whatever you would like.
Okay, which brings me to the agenda item about discussions about advocating for the county funds. Also I'd like to hear some feedback from the committee about how do we start communicating to our providers? Right now, they haven't sent in any applications. And maybe Billy or Allison knows what the plans are for the county that, like their other grant programs that we're not distributing their applications.
I think everything's just waiting until, I mean, the decision is not going to be made until the end of, probably closer to the end of March. Um, and everybody's on hold, like those applications aren't out. So
That's true, and
Mhm.
that meeting will be March 20th at the commissioners meeting, and I was supposed to have a community investments grant meeting, which is the other grant programs at the county this week, but we canceled it because there was no information coming out. Everything's on hold, as Allison said.
So what kind of communications have gone out to our providers for Buncombe County supplemental aging funds? Other than the application announcement that said it was only available for home and community care block grant.
Didn't you send out something, Billy, that said it was on hold?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent out an email telling the Buncombe County supplemental aging providers that the funding was on hold and we would not know until March 20th where the funding stands. So they know that.
So do you think they know that it might go away?
Oh, they're aware of that, yes.
Okay. All right, folks. Comments from members. How do you, I went to the last, this past commissioners meeting and introduced the block grant and gave examples from Working Wheels, Day Stay, and On Track. Basically some statistics from their applications. So I am planning to go again this coming Tuesday, the March 4th. But I'm wondering if anyone else would like to come along or have some ideas. I mean, the comment period is just 3 minutes. So you don't have a whole lot of time to say anything, but I think the ask for me this time will be to help educate the commissioners that this money is tucked away in the is it Division of Social Services within the Department of HHS. So
Yeah,
Can I ask
it's in the
just a-
HHS budget, and then it's in the HHS budget, but it's part of a grant. So because it's a grant, the commissioners have the final say on grant funding.
Okay.
That
Can-
makes sense.
Can I ask for a little bit more overview of exactly what's going on? I mean, clearly there's money that the commission is going to decide whether or not, to give to us. Is there, I mean, what exactly is the issue at the commissioner level? Are they not getting as much money from someplace else? Are there more issues coming up that they want money for, or I mean, what's the trajectory here?
well,
So yeah, go ahead. You talk, Susan.
well, I feel that the focus of the county commissioners realistically is the recovery from the hurricane and housing and infrastructure and debris removal is more on their mind than these grantees. So that's where that I believe their focus is. My other concern is that because of where this funding lies within the HHS budget, that they may not be totally aware that they have the, what did we say, the final say about the funding level.
Okay, that's where I'm getting confused. Okay, so Buncombe County has the money. They're not terribly sure exactly what they want to do with it. So what does HHS have to do with it? Is it, it's also HHS money?
We
No.
don't know that the county has the money. That's
Okay,
the
all
kicker
right,
for
okay,
next year.
that's
So all of our income comes from tourism and from
right.
property taxes, which was like a dramatic cut. And
Okay,
so all
so
these
it's
things,
the
yeah,
budget at the county
it's
level that
totally the
may have a
budget at the
problem.
county level. Yeah.
Okay,
And so what's happening is, the budget's being presented to the county manager, who then is right now she's looking at the budget like from all the areas, and then she's going to take it to the commissioners. But assuming that we don't have as much money as we've had in the past, they're having to determine where the cuts are going to be.
okay,
And so nobody has said to me yet that like anybody has talked about removing that money, and who knows? Like we have no idea. So that's the issue, is that we don't even know that we like.
okay, but this is based on local revenue and what the commissioners want to do with local revenue. Okay, so we're not worried about any weird people in any other governmental.
This is a
Okay.
strictly county,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And it's what you see in the paper about all the time about nobody thinks they want more money here, and everybody else is, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, so we just want to make ourselves a priority. Right,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, and I argue that the best way to do that really is for a group of us to get in front of some or all of the commissioners in a room to talk about make an in-person argument. 3 minutes and 3 minutes. I don't know. I don't know any of the folks on any of the commissioners. I have no sense of their perception of their jobs, their personalities and such like, but 3 minutes isn't a lot of time. I'm glad, by Susan going in front of them, we're on the record as having an issue. To drive that issue home, I think we'd have a much better chance if we could get in front of them and make some of the issues that older people face real to them. It very easily crosses over into an abstraction if you don't have people in front of you in the same room making a point, and basically selling the issue, which is always hard. I don't care what you're selling, cars, bonds, whatever. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for what little they're worth.
yeah, and also, providers, if, of course, we can't, I guess, guarantee them that they're going to get any money either, but it would be good to hear from providers. When you were at the county commissioner meeting, is that what most of the conversation was about from other organizations?
No,
Okay.
the agenda was set, and you can look at it. It'll be, I think it's going to be released today for
Mhm.
next week. But the comment period at the beginning is just, anybody who wants to come and talk. So I don't know what's on the agenda for next meeting. Definitely the budget is on the agenda for the 20th, but I was trying to get at least an introduction for the block grant folks. Billy has provided Suzanne and I with a list of all the contacts with our providers. So, I mean, the question I would have is, does anybody have personal experience with any of these folks that could maybe share with us who might be the best advocate for their organization?
I mean, I can speak from a HCCBG standpoint, and that would be Elizabeth Williams with Mountain Care. She has been a fierce advocate for increasing the HCCBG amount. I don't know that she would be appropriate in this situation, only because I think y'all are mostly talking about the Buncombe County aging funds, so that might not be the best, but there are definitely those out there that know what it is to be on level funding and even lose funding.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Susan and Billy and I have had on and off discussions about us emailing recipients of the county supplemental funds and asking them for very brief feedback with respect to how the storm impacted demand for their services, impacted their ability to deliver those services. And Susan emphasized the point to ask them how they view their role in the recovery. Since we're going up against, the competition here is storm recovery in all its glorious forms, except for the social services component of that recovery as it concerns older people. I think emailing them and asking for some brief feedback, I think it's a good idea. Can't hurt. And that way, at least if we get their feedback when we go, if we get in front of the commissioners, it's not just our voices from a remove. I mean, some of us have had elder care experience, some of us haven't. But by bringing our own experience with feedback from the folks that we fund who can say, I'm working wheels or whatever it is. These are the particular challenges that we've been up against since the storm. This is what we're trying to do to meet demand. And, what we do is critical for this reason, and that reason. To have their voices with us in a way.
And we could also ask people to email the commissioners. I don't even know who's on the commission anymore.
I downloaded a list.
It's Amanda Edwards is the chair, right? The only one I really know is Martin Moore.
Let's see if I have it here.
Well, I mean, it's easy enough to just, Google the Buncombe County County Commissioners. And they come up with their bright, shiny faces. Amanda Edwards, Al Brightside, Jennifer Horton, who has a background in, she's an RN, if I remember correctly, and she does own some adult care communities. Terry Wells, Martin Moore. Eileen, you said you know Martin Moore?
I just sort of, I know who he is and I've had conversations with him.
Uh-huh. And then
there's a Drew Ball.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, he's new. Drew Ball is new.
Yes. And a Parker Sloan.
I know who he is. I don't really know him.
So Melissa, I'm going to ask you, do you know any of these folks, or have you had experience going before either boards or commissions to advocate?
I can't hear Melissa.
She's on mute.
Okay. My phone was telling me, hey, do you want to unmute and help me out? So I do not, the person that you said that you think is an RN, the name sounds very familiar. So I'm going to look that name up.
Jennifer Horton.
Yeah, I feel like I know that name somehow.
She has traditionally run family care homes in the county.
Okay, so that's
Mount Moriah.
Okay, that might be how I know that name. So to answer your question specifically, no, I have not done that to my recollection right at this moment. I'm a little sleep deprived, so a new grandbaby and all the things. So I do not think that I have done that in the past. But what I was sitting here trying to contemplate is how things, because, working in healthcare and working with the elderly in our community through the hurricane was rough. And so I'm trying to think, how can I articulate that things have changed, and what can I articulate has changed as far as like the need of the aging community. That's what I'm trying. And I think your idea is great, Suzanne, about having the providers, reach out to the commissioners and describe that, because they can say what it was and what it is like, boots on the ground, what they did. Because I mean, as you can imagine, making meals without water had to be a little bit challenging, and delivering food without roads had to also be challenging. And then how many people had to relocate and then come back. And so I haven't been able to, this is going to take me a little while to marinate on this a little bit, to come up with the right words to say, but I think we're on the right track.
And I do want to say, can I just add this? I don't know that these funds are in competition for recovery funds. Okay. Like, I don't think that's where the decisions are. I think the decisions are, here's the budget that we have, just our operating budget, literal. And I mean, I may be wrong, but I think it's our operating budget. And the problem is, we may not have enough money to do our traditional operating budget because we don't have the same income. So I don't know that it's because county's trying to add in like recovery things. I feel like that's a different, maybe pot of money, like a different kind of entity than just the operating budget. I may be wrong, but that's what I think, because what I think is that's why we have a hiring freeze right now, right? Because I mean, Buncombe County's on a hiring freeze. Like, we can't hire to replace our employees at this point. But again, it's all about income, and the hope is that we're going to be reimbursed for a lot of this stuff that was for recovery related. But when you see that money is like, we don't, like, when are we going to see that money?
But
right?
I feel like you would still be on the right track, because you got to think about it. I mean, if we were out of commission as a town for 3 months, basically, I mean, that's 3 months that we have numbers on a piece of paper or on a computer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have the dollar bills to go with those numbers, because we were really shut down for that number of months. So even, I mean, like, if it's not taking funds from one thing and giving it to a disaster relief, it may just be the fact that the funds aren't there because of the disaster. It's not because they got reallocated. It's just that they didn't exist because of the damages and all the.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the way I think I would frame it for our purposes is that we already serve a very vulnerable population, and the population we serve was badly, I mean, they're not people who can, just get up and do whatever. And they did suffer from this, and there's a lot that needs to be done to make sure that everybody, maintains where they are. And a lot of the services that we provide or fund are services that are not in competition with what they do, but actually work together with things they do. Like, we do have housing repair, we do have, food, meals, all those things. And it's for a specific population, but it is for a specific population that also has had to go through the storm and all of that. And so, I just saying, just don't forget us. We do a lot to that helps what everybody else is trying to do also. That wasn't very articulate, but basically getting with the program rather than against the program, I guess.
Well, Eileen, I guess when you were talking, and I will disagree, you are articulate. I think you mentioned the vulnerable population, and perhaps older adults are not as resilient as younger folks. And don't forget us. And also, I mean, these are vulnerable residents of the county. Have, have compassion for them.
And
And-
that might be exactly what we're trying to articulate, that, we already had this vulnerable population, and now we've had this disaster happen, and now they're even more vulnerable because they may not have the resources that they used to have. They may not have the same type of housing they used to have, or the same type of supports, because there's, getting the home health aides out to the home has been a challenge during post Helene. Just, I think that might be where we're trying to go with this, is that we're already trying to serve a vulnerable population, a fragile population. And I mean, right now they need that more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your point, Susan, that you had said before about, continuing to focus on the fact that the population is continuing to grow, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, that's the last thing that came out of my mouth before I got cut off by the buzzer. That's kind of intimidating. You see that red light.
Yeah. And I think also maybe some demographic information, so that, they know we're not, centering all our efforts in Biltmore Forest or anything.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess emphasizing we are talking about a vulnerable elderly population,
Mhm.
not and if there was anything, if we could come up with a good example of some service that turned out to be very useful during the storm or something. I don't know if we'd still had people, I guess Council on Aging wasn't bringing too many meals around during the storm, so that's not helpful. But I mean, but just, just as an example, they got back as soon as they could, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm trying to. What do I? Okay, that what I can do is I can send everybody my draft document to let you know what I did say to the commissioners. I did give demographics about the aging population, and this demographics from On Track about, let's see, 31% of their clients are 70 and older, 88% reported household incomes less than 80% of the area medium income, and 62% were renters. So I've gotten a little bit of, that demographic in that. So my action item I can do for sure is send you all the public comment. And then I'm wondering, in terms of action items for the rest of us, we do have the contact list, right, Suzanne?
Yes.
So an initial email maybe to them?
I think so.
Mhm.
Get their feedback.
Do I have some volunteers to help with wordsmithing that an original email?
Yeah, I can help.
I'm happy to help any way you want me to.
Okay, Melissa, that'd be great.
Yeah.
just trying to think of all those things we talked about. And what I might, okay, what action item I can take is, even though I'm not sure we can get anybody to make it to this coming Tuesday, I'll start drafting for myself another public comment, and I would appreciate some in-person support if you're available. It's 5 o'clock at the downtown building, and parking is in the garage, and they give you a voucher, so you don't have to pay for parking. And the public comment, I found out, comes like right before the meeting. So I was able to make my public comment at 5 o'clock and then make a meeting in Hendersonville at 7:30.
So which building downtown? I'm sorry.
Let me see.
It's
200 College, right?
College.
What's up?
It's 200 College Street on the 3rd floor.
Could be a bank, or maybe it still is, right?
There's a
And
bank.
Yeah,
There's a
Can
bank
you-
in the building.
Can you tell me what date it is?
It will be March 4th.
Okay.
Which is a Tuesday, and it's at 5. I got there around 4:30, and they require that you wait in the lobby on the 3rd floor. And I don't know, I guess like every other government building, they have a metal screening that you have to go through. So if you don't bring a lot of like packages or briefcases or whatever, just a small person, it makes things go a little faster.
Well, Susan, I will try to be there. And I'll email you an update with my schedule if things change. But I'm going to try to be there. I would like to do that.
Okay.
yeah, I can probably be there.
Okay. What I can do is then I'll draft another public comment and then circulate it with Eileen, Melissa, and Suzanne.
Sure.
I don't know if, and then in the meantime, we'll draft the email. Suzanne, can you take the lead on that?
To get in touch with the email to the fund recipients?
Yes.
Yes. Would you also like me to put together an email for the commissioners to ask them if they'd be willing to meet with us, as both as their constituents as well as advocates who are members of this committee? I was planning to do that anyway, but my week went sideways, so it hasn't gotten done. So,
Well, I think if you have time, that would be great.
okay.
And when I look on the website, you can click on, sending an email, and then you have to have a verification that you're not a robot.
Well, I found emails for them. So I'm
Oh,
going to do it the old-fashioned way.
oh, excellent.
And I was thinking, my thinking was, rather than doing it to the group, I would send the same email to each of them individually to have a more personal kind of feel to it. I don't like group emails, ladies and gentlemen, here I am kind of thing. But yeah, I'm willing to do that. And I'll
Okay.
share it with you and who else before I send it. Just I'll bang up a quick, short draft.
I trust you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can share it with me, because we're gonna try to also get the provider email out too. All right. Well, Melissa, having a new grandbaby, do you think you'll have time in the next few days, or?
I sure hope so.
When was the birth?
2 weeks ago today. So it's been a wild ride. The baby is beautiful and perfect. My daughter has had some pretty significant, scary challenges, but she's physically, I think, over all the crazy speed bumps. And we're just trying to get back to what our new little life will look like with the brand new first grandbaby.
I was just going to ask that. Was it the
Yeah.
first? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And thankfully she's here. So I mean, I'm blessed because I know many times grandbabies are not in your same state even. So I'm blessed she's 10 miles down the road.
Ours was 3 weeks ago today, but he was number 6.
Oh, wow.
We were down there because of the C-section, but they grabbed him immediately and put him in NICU. He was in NICU for 10 days. So they only allow 4 people. So that'd be the parents and the grandmother. So I never got to see the guy. So
Aw.
my wife was down there for baby shower, and then they decided they needed to have the baby do the C-section. So my wife's been gone for the last 5 weeks, and she's on her way home now. I have to reintroduce myself, but I'll see you. Not driving. He's all the way up to 7 pounds, though. He's a beast at this point.
Oh, that's like my husband. I haven't been home since the 11th of February. And I mean, we live in the same town.
Yeah, ours is Tallahassee, Jacksonville, so that's a little bit of a problem, but we drive a lot. But it's worth it to live here and visit there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite sure what else we can talk about for the action items. So Suzanne has the contact list. Let me just make sure I got this. Suzanne's got the contact list. Suzanne and Melissa and myself will work on a provider email. Suzanne's going to work on an email to the individual commissioners. Hopefully the public comment period, moral support will come from Eileen and Melissa in person. And I will draft up another 3-minute quick presentation, and we'll go from there. And perhaps between now and the 20th, we'll have some provider feedback that we can add.
So what about the March 26th in person? Is that still on?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was just going to say that the March 26th meeting will be in person at Land of Sky. We have decided for 2 hours, and the grants will be released a week from Friday, if I remember correctly. Billy, am I right?
Yes, the application closes Friday, March 7th at 5 p.m.
And then we're off to the races, at least for that part of it.
Yeah. Oh. Billy, I can never remember. Is it available then on the weekend? Are we able to get on the site on the weekend after?
I can ask the grants administrator to release the applications after 5 that day, and I'll go ahead and send her an email and give her a heads up.
Appreciated. Well, I have 421. I don't know if anyone, any announcements or comments or questions? Oh, hearing none. Oh.
I just have a quick question. Did we decide to just leave the DEI portion of it in the grant? I know there was discussion. I didn't know how that ended.
I put that question was optional because we were waiting to hear back from county lawyers and we haven't heard back, so I put it as optional.
Okay.
And it was a pared down request, as I recall.
I
Okay.
believe so. I think it went from 3 questions to 1 or something like that.
Yes.
Did tear it
Yes.
down. I remember that, yes.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
is allowable to be optional? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Nobody knows.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Story of my life. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's at the federal level, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there at all.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate everybody's additional volunteer time to get this advocacy in front of the commissioners, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
I second that.
Yeah.
So unless there's something else that we need to talk about, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, y'all have a good night, and we'll be in touch, and I'll send that email with my public comment out right now after we get
Excellent.
signed off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for volunteering.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.